Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another episode of Empowerment in Illness. I am your host, Gwen. And today, we are diving deep into a condition that many people live with, but don't even realize they have. Ehlers-Danlos Syndromes, or EDS. If you've ever been able to bend your fingers into unusual positions, or if you've always been told you're double jointed, there's a chance you've brushed up against a symptom of this condition. EDS isn't something you hear about every day. It's often misdiagnosed or completely missed, yet it can impact nearly every part of a person's life, from your joints to the skin, from digestion to mental health. Today's episode is all about shedding light on EDS, so you can better understand what it is, how it shows up, and how to live with it. We're going to cover what the different types of EDS are, how they manifest in your body, and some strategies for managing life with this complex and often invisible condition. So whether you've been diagnosed with EDS, suspect you might have it, or simply want to learn more about the people around you, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. Let's start with the basics. Ehlers-Danlos Syndromes are a group of genetic connective tissue disorders. Connective tissues is like the glue that holds your body together. Your skin, joints, blood vessels, and organs all rely on it. In people with EDS, that glue doesn't work properly. Think of it like trying to build furniture with worn out screws or melted glue sticks. It might hold together, but it's not going to be very stable. EDS affects the production and structure of collagen, which is a protein that gives strength and elasticity to connective tissue. When collagen is faulty, things stretch too much or tear too easily. That's why people with EDS often have very flexible joints or stretchy skin. Some types of EDS also affects internal organs and blood vessels, which can make the condition even more serious. It's important to know that EDS is not just one condition. It's a group of at least 13 different types, each with its own symptoms, genetic causes, and levels of severity. Some types are extremely rare, while others like hypermobile EDS are more common but less well understood. And here's the kicker. Many doctors aren't fully trained to recognize or diagnose EDS, especially the more subtle forms. Most people with EDS are diagnosed later in life, after years of mysterious symptoms and medical frustrations. They are often misdiagnosed with anxiety, fibromyalgia, or chronic fatigue syndrome before anyone even considers a connective tissue disorder. That's why raising awareness about EDS is so crucial, because early recognition can drastically improve quality of life and help prevent long-term damage. I want to pause here and share something with you. I had never heard the name Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome before. Not in a textbook, not from a doctor, not even in passing. It wasn't until I was interviewing a guest on this very podcast, a woman who courageously lives with both lupus and Parkinson's disease, that the term Ehlers-Danlos even crossed my ears. And I remember asking her, wait, what is that? I was genuinely curious, because it was a condition I had never come across before. She explained it with such clarity and personal depth. She told me that EDS affects her joints, her skin, and her daily life. But then she added something that stopped me in my tracks. She said, my mother has it. My daughter has it too. That's when it hit me. This isn't just one person's story. It's a generational one. A hereditary condition, quietly passed down through families, often without a name or a diagnosis. It can go unnoticed for decades, misunderstood as clumsiness, fragile skin, growing pains, or just being flexible. Hearing that really stuck with me, because if she hadn't told her story, if I hadn't asked that one question, I never would have known. And how many people are out there struggling with chronic pain or strange symptoms, being told it's all in their head, when really it's EDS running through their family tree? This condition hides in plain sight, affecting children, parents, and grandparents across generations, sometimes labeled as different issues, sometimes not labeled at all. So I want you to take a moment and reflect. Maybe you've always been the bendy one in your family. Maybe your child bruises easily or complains of joint pain. Maybe your parent has mysterious chronic issues that doctors can't explain. EDS might be the missing piece. Stories like the one I heard are why conversations on this podcast matter so much, because awareness has the power to change lives and even save them. Let's talk about the different types. While there are over a dozen forms, we're going to focus on the most commonly discussed ones: hypermobile EDS, HEEDS, classical EDS, and vascular EDS. Hypermobile EDS, or HEEDS, is the most common type. This is the one where people often have joints that bend way beyond what's considered normal. Maybe you've been able to touch your thumb to your forearm or do party tricks with your fingers. But HEEDS isn't just about flexibility. It can also come with chronic joint pain, fatigue, anxiety, gastrointestinal issues like IBS. And because HEEDS doesn't have a known genetic marker yet, it's diagnosed based on clinical symptoms, which can be frustrating and drawn out. Classical EDS is more likely to come with extremely stretchy, velvety skin that bruises easily. People with this type often have skin that feels soft, but is fragile. It may tear or scar easily, especially after surgery or injury. They may also have visible blood vessels or scars that widen over time. Classical EDS is usually inherited in an autosomal dominant pattern, meaning if one parent has it, there's a 50% chance of passing it down. Vascular EDS, VEDS, is a life-threatening form of EDS that affects blood vessels and internal organs. People with this type are at risk of arterial ruptures or organ tearing, sometimes with no warning. The skin may be translucent and bruise easily, and facial features like large eyes, a thin nose, and a small chin are often noted. People with VEDS need to avoid activities that could cause internal injury and usually undergo routine scars to monitor vascular health. Other types like skyphoscoliotic, arthroclasia, and dermatosparasis EDS involves many specific symptoms such as muscle weakness, severe curvature of the spine, or extremely fragile skin from birth. While these types are rare, they still require just as much care and awareness. What's common across all types is that symptoms are often disabling, and yet EDS remain undiagnosed and misunderstood even within medical communities. So how does EDS show up day to day? Well, let's start with the joints. People with EDS often experience joint hypermobility, meaning their joints move beyond the normal range. This might sound cool at first, especially when you're a kid and can impress your friends. But over time, it can lead to chronic pain, joint instability, and frequent injuries like sprains and dislocations. Next is the skin. It might be soft and stretchy, but that's not always a good thing. Skin can be so fragile that it tears with even minor injuries. You might notice it bruises easily or take longer than normal to heal. Some people might develop wide atrophic scars that look like cigarette paper lines. Others experience frequent wounds that reopen or don't heal properly. On the inside, EDS can affect many body systems, often leading to gastrointestinal issues like bloating, constipation, nausea, or acid reflux. It may also lead to autonomic nervous system dysfunctions, including conditions like POTS, where your heart rate spikes dramatically when you stand up. Many with EDS also have TMJ disorders, frequent headaches, pelvic pain, and even hernias or prolapse due to weakened tissues. Mental and emotional health takes a hit too. Living with a misunderstood or often invisible illness can be incredibly isolating. People with EDS frequently deal with medical trauma, being doubted, dismissed, or labeled as drug seekers or hypochondriacs. That emotional toll built over time can lead to anxiety, depression, and even PTSD. But the more we talk about it, the more we can shift the culture around chronic illness and invisible disabilities. So how do we live with EDS once we have a diagnosis? Or even if we suspect it but haven't yet confirmed it? The first thing is education. Understanding your own body is one of the most powerful tools you can have. Knowing your limits, learning about joint protection, and identifying your triggers can help avoid flares or injuries. Physical therapy, when done correctly, is a huge help, but it must be EDS informed. That means slow, gentle, stabilizing movement to strengthen the muscle around the joint. Stretching may feel natural when you're hypomobile, but it can actually do more harm than good. Stability, not flexibility, is the goal. Pilates, aquatic therapy, and low-impact yoga, with modifications, can all be beneficial when guided appropriately. Pain management would likely be a lifelong practice. That might include medications, but also things like mobility aids, orthotics, bracing, and trigger point therapy. Heat packs, Epsom salt baths, meditation, and pacing yourself can make a huge difference in daily quality of life. It's about figuring out what your unique body responds to and adjusting as needed. And finally, building a support network is key. Whether it's friends, family, therapists, or fellow warriors online, you need people who get it. You don't have to justify your experience. You don't have to prove your pain. And you don't have to carry this alone. Living with EDS isn't easy, but it's possible to create a life full of meaning, creativity, and purpose, even if it looks different than what you imagine. Before we leave, I would like to close with a special portion of the show I call Healing Heartbeats. This is where we allow ourselves to wallow in sorrow. Give yourself 3 minutes to laugh, cry, scream, cuss, or just sit in silence. Whatever you need to do to feel it, do it. Let the depression in for only 3 minutes. Once you've reached 3 minutes, compartmentalize it and get back to living. This is a rinse and repeat behavior. You cannot let depression take over, because when it does, it will not let go. When we hear about the passing of someone, they have the day they were born and the day they passed away. There is a dash in the middle. It's not a long line, but a short dash. That dash represents your life. Go live in spite of having a chronic illness. Don't let your condition stop you. Living with Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome, or EDS, may come with 1,000 questions and not always enough answers. But remember, the more you learn, the more empowered you become. Even if your journey to diagnosis has been long, frustrating, or full of dismissals, your truth matters. You matter. There's no one-size-fits-all solution to chronic illness, but there is a way forward, one step at a time, with knowledge, boundaries, and a whole lot of self-compassion. If this episode resonated with you, I encourage you to share it with someone who needs to hear it. The more we talk about conditions like EDS, the more awareness we create, and that awareness saves lives. You are not broken, you are not imagining things, and you are not alone. Until next time, take care of your body, protect your peace, and as always, remember, you have the strength, the heart, and the support to continue your journey. Be safe.